Welcome to Feng Shui Living, the podcast designed for busy women who want to de-stress, live with intention, and create a home that truly supports their well-being. Each week, I'll bring you practical tips, insightful ideas, and simple strategies to enhance both your home and your life. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome to this episode of Feng Shui Living. I am your host, Lisa Morton, and wow, am I so excited for today's interview with Abby Bolton. We've been trying to do, sometimes you plan things, and you try to get things scheduled and coordinated, and life happens. But today we were meant to sit and connect. Abby, how are you doing?
I'm so good. I'm so excited to be here. I love your podcast.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, I can't wait to dive into your work. I mean, you guys know I'm always talking on the podcast about artwork, the importance of having artwork that connects to your heart and your soul, and that you love to see, you love to view, you love to experience, right? I mean, I have a piece in my own home that it's the first thing I see in the morning when I leave my bedroom, and it's the last thing I see at the end of the day. And it just makes me feel complete. So we're going to talk more about really intentional, beautiful art and where you can find some of that art with Abby. Abby is a visionary artist, transformation coach, space designer, and workshop facilitator. She's based in Pittsburgh, and she's the founder of Abby Bolton Arts. Don't worry, friends. I will put links in the show notes for you. Also, after a 15-year career in corporate change management and leadership consulting, she moved into this beautiful soul-driven work, her lifelong passion for painting and personal growth. She now brings the best of both worlds, strategy and spirit, into her work. Oh my goodness.
Yay.
You've had quite the journey. And it's funny because I seem to be connecting with these people that are going from corporate world to this beautiful, amazing work. And tell me about this transition.
Wow. Yeah, over time in my consulting career, I was feeling kind of a growing misalignment as I evolved as a mom, as a person, a spiritual journey. Um, and yeah, the art really kind of pulled me in an unexpected way. I unexpectedly, our team was eliminated. And I found myself with some time to really dig in. And I've always been a painter, but I did more realist painting previously. And I had discovered fluid art, poured painting, fluid acrylics. These are all the same thing on YouTube, like many do. And I had been going down a rabbit hole and like, just the idea of doing abstract art just freed me
Okay.
up. Like it just opened up a creative floodgates. And so I was just constantly doing it every day with my kids, just kind of like couldn't get enough. And so when I was I had a little time and I said, I'm not gonna look for a job right away. I'm gonna do this. And I just really I had sold a few pieces on Facebook, and so I decided to set up my website and give this a shot. Um,
Fantastic.
because if I don't give it my full energy, I did try to I had one more contract consulting position, and that kind of confirmed for me, like, listen, my soul was screaming. I know what I need.
I
And
love that.
it's stressful when you're trying to fit into a, round peg in a square hole kind of thing. Like when it's just not who you are anymore. There's a lot
Hmm.
of dissonance there. And so
Hmm.
I just said I got to give this a shot.
Oh my gosh. I love
Follow my
that.
heart.
I have a friend, Carmen, who used to be in banking, and now she's a numerology coach, which
That's
it's still
awesome.
numbers, but a different approach. And it's so fun to see
Yeah.
that. So let's
Right.
talk about your art. Tell us about what high vibration art really is and how it can uplift your energy and support you in your growth.
So anything that is high vibration or high frequency tends to uplift us. It has positive energy, and people will talk a lot in mindfulness, the mindfulness community, and manifestation and things like that about raising your own vibration. And so, my art, because I do it, and I'm quite tapped into sort of my divine source and kind of my inner wisdom as I'm doing it. Um, it carries that. I actually also sing when I paint. And
Wow, I
that's sort
didn't
of
know
like
that.
another form of my channeling, I think, and
It's
connecting into
infusing
my,
that frequency.
yes, yes.
Okay, keep going. This
um,
is so fun.
yeah. And so like I'm singing, I'm flowing, I'm making this. And so I feel like the high frequency in the process is almost like put into the painting and almost like frozen like a glacier. You know how fossils end up, you find them in a glacier later preserved so that like if somebody has that original in their home or a print, I think it's preserved in the prints too, but it carries that. So the idea is
Wow.
to have art that really, like you said, that yours just makes you feel amazing, right? Like it just, so you have to connect with what it looks like, but that high frequency in addition is like this extra lift. And I didn't even fully understand the power of this for a while. And then I had people coming to my studio and like not wanting to leave. And they're like, it just feels so good in here. And so I
I
realized,
feel
and some
it.
other very intuitive people said to me, this is frequency, this is
Mhm.
so, yeah, leaning into
Wow.
it.
That's so exciting. So tell me a bit about how you prepare for painting. Like, are you sitting in meditation for a while? Do you go and walks in nature? Eat anything specific? Drink a lot of water, perhaps.
Um, I don't have a standard process for that.
Okay.
Lately, I'm working on a new collection that combines sound frequency and the chakra energy system and divine feminine archetypes and things like that. So I have been playing the sound frequency that I'm working with. For people who don't know, there are certain sound frequencies that can have healing effects on our bodies. And there are ones that are associated with each chakra energy center in our body, which correspond to an area of our life. So it's sort of like exploring each of those themes as I do each painting. And so yeah, so I'll use the frequency, I'll do some meditation and kind of call in support from whatever divine feminine archetypes I'm drawing inspiration from.
Wow.
Um, yeah, and for other
That's
work,
beautiful.
uh, just getting in the groove and singing my stuff. I mean, it's
I
usually
love it.
a bit of usually spiritual music, not always, but I enjoy it. I just find it healing to do.
Fantastic.
So,
Do you have a favorite song or favorite playlist anywhere that you want to share with us? Or maybe you can share with us
hmm.
later and I can post it.
Yeah, you know what? I have a workshop playlist that I'm always
Ooh,
adding to. We'll chat about my workshops later, but yeah, just kind of um it's got some uplifting stuff, some peaceful stuff, some themes of tapping into your, inner wisdom and
mm,
power and
wonderful.
yeah, we can make that
So,
happen.
well, I'll put links again in the show notes to send you to Abby's website. But you have some beautiful original pieces. You have some really affordable prints, a beautiful, inexpensive way to bring amazing, powerful artwork in your space.
Thank you.
If you guys go over to the website, check out Savoring Sunset on the originals tab. That might be my favorite right now.
Cool.
And go over to the prints. Two of my favorites there are Timeless Tranquility and Whispers in the Wind. I mean, just the names alone. So you also do custom art.
I
I believe you
do.
call it inspired journey painting. Can you tell us about
hmm
that?
Yeah. So I was doing as I got, this business going, I've been doing custom art. People would just say, "Oh, I want something in my living room or in my bedroom to just, usually people don't know exactly what they want. They just know they want a little something that will lift their spirits and delight the eyes and raise the vibes, is what I like to say.
I love that.
Um,
Delight the eyes and raise the vibes. That's
yeah.
fantastic.
So really, I like to take the approach because, well, I came to custom inspired journey paintings because I was working with individuals and they just said they wanted some art, right? That makes sense, sure. But what we realized was once we went through the process a few times, it really wasn't just that. It was a symbol for them of where they were in their life, a new chapter beginning, or kind of like grounding into feeling fully themselves and fully expressed for the first time in their life, or wanting more resilience or whatever it is. So that's where I kind of fell into my niche of art that reinforces personal development journeys and growth. Um, and it's amazing because art has this ability to to make us feel, right? I mean, and so if we can be intentional about art that's beautiful, that looks amazing in our home, that's placed strategically according to Feng Shui, right? Um, and that represents to us how we want to feel in this chapter of life and where we want to go. And if we're working on manifesting, or, even if you want to say it a different way, just if you have personal goals or your,
Goals and dreams and
whatever you're
wishes
calling
and
in, right? Dreams,
Mhm.
yes. Then it can be a visual reminder of that, because life gets so it becomes almost, I say like a fine art vision board. Um,
Mhm.
it's the visual shorthand to remind you of, like, oh yeah, that's what's most important to me. The world out here is crazy, it's
Mhm.
overwhelming, but I can control my physical environment and my inner environment. Um,
Mhm.
but I think, and I'm preaching to the choir here, but people underestimate the power of shaping their space to support what they want, right?
And we don't
So,
always think, we're not always it's so easy. I work with clients that are moving into a new home and they want it photo shoot ready tomorrow, and they'll fill it with a piece of art. Now, I am not an art snob by any means. I love to support local artists. I love to support artists that I know and I enjoy and I know their story. But I have a piece downstairs that I love that I found on Amazon. It was a steal, but it makes me feel so good. It's the tree just outside. You see the tree in the woods, and it just
mm,
feels magical. I'm like, okay, this is meant to be in my home, right?
yeah,
You don't. That's why I love your prints on your website. It's a great inexpensive way if you can invest in original pieces,
yeah,
but it's so important to look at your art with that fresh lens. Really, what is it saying, right? Because it's and again, I'm
hmm
preaching to the choir here to you. You're it's subconsciously infusing things into our body. I worked with a woman a few years ago, and we'd been working on a few things, and I was like, let's talk about your master bedroom. How are you sleeping? Okay, what's going on? And she was really struggling in her marriage. She said her husband he had started a new business and he was working all the time. She's like, I'd never see him. I feel so lonely. We walk in her bedroom and there's this beautiful painting of a woman all by herself in her
yes,
master bedroom. I'm like, okay, let's look at this. And once I got her to see it, she
yeah,
was like, oh my gosh, of course I have to replace that. So
hmm
it's interesting when we can take a step back. So everyone listening, make this just take 5 minutes today. Walk through your home and look at the art. What is it saying? What is it subconsciously? What kind of energy is it infusing into your home, into your body? Just
yeah,
get that blank slate, look with fresh eyes, and
absolutely,
see if you need to make any adjustments. So,
yes.
Abby, do you have any interesting stories of clients you've worked with that maybe had an experience like this and they had this aha moment and realized they need Abby Bolton art?
Yeah, yeah. Um, well, so a great example of how we can use, I think almost everybody has a situation where they're on Zoom all the time now. And I worked with a woman, very successful business leader, and as many of us do, she had a theme for her year. It was around New Year time, and it was lightness. And so she said, I'd really love, like, I have like very little color in my home office. I just want, I want to lift, and I want to be reminded of that. So we worked together and understood I mean, of course, we figured out the right size and everything for the space, and, um, the surrounding environment, and um, talked about the colors that resonated with her. And she was very much into these sort of like icy pastel kinds of colors. Um, and
Very
so, yeah,
metal element ish,
yeah, yeah.
very
And
focused. I
and
love
we
that.
we brought in some gold as well. And um so that one, it's lifted and light. And actually that's in the prints section if you want to check it out. Um I love it. I think it's really, so anyway, it has a composition that kind of, weaves itself up. She was wanting, and her definition of lightness was like, you don't always have to go like full throttle all the time. Like it's okay to kind of, she was a high achiever, it's sort of like
Okay.
in the hanging back, we can actually sometimes make more progress.
Almost like an
Um,
essence of ease.
yes, yeah, and so that's in her Zoom background, and she's called it like it a beacon for her, like a beacon of that idea that she can ground into, and she can see it in her background. Others can see it, but she can also kind of turn around to the wall when she's not on a call and kind of sink into it. So like a great
Mhm.
what I love about any art that you love and that makes you feel good is that you can use it as a centering tool, and when you're overwhelmed, when you need to take a breath. Almost, it's so that whole idea of just pausing and taking deep breaths for like 30 seconds. It seems so hard to do.
Mhm.
It can be your reminder for that. And what I like about fluid art is that there's just so much to see, all these little details. Even if you're very familiar with a piece, there's kind of like always something new to discover. Um,
Ooh.
so yeah, I like to work a lot with like understanding what people's goals are and then using, visual metaphor. I'll just
Mhm.
show you a little bit. This is an example.
Yeah.
It's a
So if you're
painting that I'm
not
actually,
watching, if you're only listening to audio, you're
oh yeah,
missing out. Go check out the YouTube version of the podcast today. I'll also post some pictures of Abby's art in the newsletter too, so you don't miss out if you can't get
yeah.
to YouTube. But go ahead and talk about the piece behind you because it's
Okay.
magnificent.
All right. I'll try to be descriptive enough that they don't need the video.
You're
But
the artist, so I'm sure you can.
I did this actually for a nonprofit organization. So once I varnish it, it'll be going to be in a group therapy room for Power, which is an organization in Pittsburgh that supports women recovering from addiction.
Okay.
And so there's this kind of with the high vibration, there's a healing quality. There's uplifting, but also just kind of I like to say like a peaceful dynamism. Like, because people are like, oh, it's like uplifting me, but I'm also feeling calm. And it's like, it's interesting. We don't always have those two things together. Um, but so this is on the theme, the name of the room is resilience. And so, I was working with this idea of kind of emerging from darker terrain and blooming. This is in reverse, but it's going over to the like progressing. So it's sort of, in the road to recovery or any kind of coming out of any dark time isn't always linear. So it kind of, you go up, you bloom a bit, you get derailed, you come back, and the end there is sort of like the biggest bloom. And
Mm,
so just
wow.
that's just one example, but um, let's see what
Do
else.
you, do you
There
have
was
a
a
favorite piece that you've ever done?
hmm,
Or do you love them
it's
all?
hard.
I bet it
It's
is
hard. That's
because
like
there's a
picking
new
your favorite baby.
intention. Yeah. Do
Um,
you have a favorite or a favorite color palette you like to stay? I've seen a kind of variation on your
mm,
website. Some of those like bright chakra, primary colors, but then also was really kind of more muted, like behind you.
yeah.
What are you loving these days?
My favorites and what I gravitate towards the most are purples and greens and blues, like the cool tones. And I love gold also. Um, there's a piece in the originals called Enchanted Becoming
Mm,
that I really love. It's kind of all those colors, and also the gold detailing that I do after it's dry.
mhm.
Um, yeah, and usually when I'm using gold, I think of it as like our the divine expression of ourselves kind of coming through and impacting the world. Like it's usually a metaphor of some kind of like letting our essence be expressed and do its magic.
Wow. Did I see on your website you also are using some stones?
Yes, yes, I
Well,
do
tell
have.
me
I,
about
I
that. I
love to use
briefly saw
crystals.
that.
I have my tree back here.
I love it.
Amethyst and aventurine. Aventurine for
Ooh.
healing, amethyst for intuition. But yeah, I've worked with crystals. I've just had an interest in crystals and their kind of metaphysical properties for a long time. And so
Mhm.
I do apply crystals to my paintings sometimes, especially
That
when
is such
they're
a cool thing.
spiritually themed.
Sure. I mean, there's so many deep layers to your work. It's not just putting some paint on it. I mean, there between the music, the singing, the crystals, the color, the intention, I'm just a little blown away, to be honest.
Oh, thanks. I'm touched by that.
Well, I want to make sure we get into one other topic that I think is really cool. And you offer workshops. But folks, before you think paint and sip, at your local, nothing, not that there's anything wrong with that, but this is a completely different experience. There's an entire page on Abby's website all about her workshops. If you live anywhere near Pittsburgh, you got to go.
Yes.
I'm pushing her to create something virtually
Mm-hmm. That's
or
the
to work.
next
I
step.
I was saying I'm doing my next Feng Shui certification. I'm finalizing dates for the fall session. And I'm like, how fun would it be to have this as almost like a final, moment after the certification to really infuse a piece to take home and hang in your home office or your home wherever you work and you're going to do this work. So, oh my gosh, share about the workshops and what that's all about.
I call them inspired flow workshops. And it's leveraging poured painting, which is a very accessible, at its most basic level, so accessible. You don't need to be creative or artistic to love it and to make something that you enjoy. So that's one reason that sets it apart. Because even these sort of paint and sips, like I've heard from so many people that they felt like, oh, mine isn't good enough, or, you know, um, whatever. They had some disempowering experience. And this is the opposite of that. It is very much about connecting and being supported. And I ask people to bring an intention or a feeling that they want more of in their day to day or a goal that they're thinking of in their life. And I do a kind of creative activation meditation, just short, but people kind of get people grounded and really like focusing on activating their hands as extensions of what's in their heart. Um, and going with the flow. So then I do a demo of poured painting techniques, keep it really simple. And, we do some introductions. So we share the idea that we've come with. And so people get a lot of value out of just that dialogue. But then it's time to make their own painting. So I let them loose and I'm there to guide. And some people want a lot of support. Some people are off and running, and whatever that is, I'm there for it. But they make their own painting and,
Mm.
gravitate to the colors that speak to them. I often will organize the paints according to the four elements of earth, wind, water, fire. I know Feng Shui has some others, but um, just to give people a jumping off point because there are, certain qualities associated with each of those. But usually people don't even need that, or they definitely will. It gets them thinking, and then they end up mixing stuff according
I'm
to their
impressed.
intuition, which is exactly what they should do. So they make their own painting. It's a fluid art painting, and it represents to them whatever that idea is that they brought. Um, and it's people are really empowered by it, and really uplifted by it, and so I'm so touched every time that I get to lead a group. Um, I do have one coming up in Pittsburgh on July 12th, and I'm
Ooh,
partnering with the
nice.
OMA Center for Mind, Body, and Spirit to present that. So if you are in or near the area,
Tell me
check
this,
that
the
out.
date again.
Hmm.
Tell me the date again.
Saturday,
Again.
July 12th from 1 to 3.
Perfect. Oh my gosh. I'm like, is my schedule clear? Can I go to Pittsburgh?
Yeah, come
I will
on.
have to look. Who wants to
Love that.
come with me? Message me and let me know. We'll plan a trip to
That's
go
it.
visit Abby and do art.
Yay.
But I love how you take it and make it accessible. So many people are thinking, I am not an artist. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I don't even know where to start. But I love you have those, you work with the four element system to give them some sort of starting point.
Yeah. And I've had like many I love proving people who are like, "Oh, I don't have a creative bone in my body," or, I'm like a math person. I don't do this stuff or whatever. And I'm like, "Trust me, you can do it.
Mhm.
It's for
But
everyone." And they're the
I
ones who
think
end
that
up loving it. Maybe I don't know. Everybody seems to love it, honestly. I guarantee it. If you don't like it, I'll give you your money back.
I love that. But there's so many people that think you're like you said, they're in that analytical camp. They can't be creative. But then I meet these people that I used to know a guy who was an engineer and he did photography on the side. He needed that creative outlet. Once these, type A, analytical type people can find that creative outlet, they just thrive. It's like my husband is a numbers guy, but he is out in nature doing things all the time. And I think you need to find that outlet and it's so important. So if that's through painting, if that's even just creating one piece with Abby and then having it in your home, it's so powerful to have that balance in life.
Yeah.
So, do you have any interesting stories to share of projects you've worked on and maybe clients that had an aha moment or you had an aha moment?
Well, I was thinking of, so there's a woman who, unfortunately, her husband died unexpectedly, and so she was navigating life, living alone for the first time, and really, I mean, working through, unbelievable loss. But she connected with me and said, I want a painting that makes, like, I want to make my space feel like me, because it was hours for my whole life, and now I'm charting. This is the year of me, and I'm digging into that. And so I ended up making for her a beautiful commission. Um, we called it Breaking New Ground. I think I'm getting the first. That was maybe a year or so ago, but yeah, the whole idea was creating new ground. I think that's what it was. And it was just this idea of her feeling feeling like there was life in a new chapter that felt so difficult. And she, just shared that, like, it brings her joy and peace every day. And I was just really honored to be able to support her in a way that felt really meaningful and that, like, contributed to her daily happiness and balance and resilience. And she's actually someone who did take a workshop with me and now does port painting herself, and is exploring that and just like loving that process. So that's kind of cool too.
That's great. How fun for her. And what a beautiful thing to be able to do for someone to help them,
Yeah,
create
means
a
a
piece
lot.
of, create a piece of art that's going to work, support them in healing, in rejuvenation, in finding grounding, balance, whatever they need.
Yes. Yeah. And
Mhm.
it's kind of my hope that my work and also my story, because I've changed my life quite a bit. I made a career change. I also am divorced. I have two little kids. I'm on a journey of, self-realization and knowing that life, we're not here to suffer. So we have the power to create lives that are joyful and fulfilling. And so, my goal is just to help other people um, feel empowered to make, it could be small changes. It doesn't have to be blowing it all up, but feel empowered to take those steps that help them get in touch with the truth of who they are, what they really want, what lights them up, and then bringing in that energy and that feeling every day so they can keep creating the life that they really want to be living.
Well, I was going to ask you for final thoughts, but that really was beautiful.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, friends. Wow. Well, we have to wrap things up. Abby, I can't thank you enough for joining me. Again, I will put all the information about Abby's July 9th workshop in Pittsburgh if you're near her. Also, along with all of information about her beautiful, intentional, high vibrational artwork. Any final thoughts?
Well, it's July 12th, sorry, just to make sure.
Well,
Um,
okay. Okay. July
but
12th.
I have a special page just for your listeners. So it's abbyboldenarts.com/Lisa. And
Yay.
you'll find a link there if you want to schedule a call to chat with me about your space and potential art needs. No pressure, certainly, but sometimes people just don't, they know they want something, but they don't even know where to start. So I'm always here as a resource. Um, and it'll also have a little goodie I'm putting together, just a quick guide to help you choose art with intention that has
Fantastic.
that,
That's
beauty
so
and
kind of
function
you.
aspect to it.
We
So
love
you'll find it
freebies
all
and
there.
goodies. That's that's amazing. I really appreciate you doing that and
Yeah,
taking the
of
time to
course.
do that for the listeners.
My
Oh my
pleasure.
gosh.
I'm so glad to
Well,
be here.
Abby, thank you again for taking time out of your day. I know it was crazy trying to get together, but we made it happen. And I cannot wait for this episode to air. Everyone, thank you so much for joining. If you loved this episode, be sure to share it with a friend. If you know someone who is a Feng Shui lover and art lover, be sure to share it with them. Also, be sure to give us all the likes, all the goodness. We really appreciate that.
Hmm.
Until next time, take care, friends. special thanks to our sponsor, Elevated Living School of Holistic Design and Feng Shui. For more information, head over to the show notes. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, give us a 5-star review, and share this episode with a friend. We'll see you next time.